If you've managed to save $500,000, you've done something 90% of the world will never do. But here's the cold hard reality. In the eyes of the bank, that $500,000 only buys you exactly $1,667 a month to live on. That's it. That's the safe math. Now, before you have a panic attack and start looking for a part-time job at 75, you need to understand something. That $1,667 is a starting point, not a death sentence. Depending on 5 specific levers you pull right now, that same $500,000 can either have you living like a king on a beach in Portugal or wondering if you can afford the good brand of toilet paper in a cramped studio in Seattle. The difference isn't luck, and it isn't the stock market. It's the invisible gap between your savings and your strategy. Today, we're closing that gap. Before we get into the hacks, we have to respect the gravity of the math. In the world of retirement planning, there is a gold standard called the 4% rule. It was created by William Bengen in 1994, and it's essentially the speed limit for your savings. The rule is simple. In your first year of retirement, you withdraw 4% of your total portfolio. For a $500,000 nest egg, that is exactly $20,000 a year. Break that down by month, and you're looking at $1,667. Now, the theory says you can adjust that amount for inflation every year, and your money should last at least 30 years, even through market crashes and recessions. It's a solid safety net. But let's be real, $1,667 a month doesn't even cover the average rent in most major U.S. cities. If you stop the math right here, $500,000 looks like a disaster. But the math doesn't stop here, because your portfolio isn't the only horse in the race. So why is it that $500,000 feels like a fortune to one person and a failure to another? It's because $500,000 is a chameleon number. It changes its value based on how you live your life. Think of your retirement savings like a fuel tank. If you're driving a gas-guzzling SUV with the windows down and the AC blasting, you aren't going to get very far. But if you're driving a high-efficiency hybrid, that same tank of gas can take you across the country. This isn't just about being rich, it's about cash flow efficiency. Most people focus 100% of their energy on the size of the tank, but they completely ignore the fuel economy of their life. The 5 factors we're about to dive into are the upgrades that turn your $500,000 from a subcompact into a long-range cruiser. Here's the secret weapon that turns $1,667 into a real living wage: Social Security. But most people treat their Social Security check like a lottery prize. They just take whatever shows up. That is a massive mistake. Think of Social Security as an annuity that the government pays you for life. If you take it at 62, you're getting the discounted version. If you wait until 70, your check grows by about 8% every single year you delay. Let's look at our 3 archetypes again. Low earner Larry took his benefit early at 62. He gets $1,100. Total monthly income, $2,767. He's scraping by. Average earner Amy waited until her full retirement age, 67. She gets $2,000. Total monthly income, $3,667. She's comfortable. High earner Henry. He used his $500K to bridge the gap and waited until 70 to claim. His check is $3,800. Total monthly income, $5,467. Same $500,000 savings, but Henry has doubled the spending power of Larry just by changing when he clicked the button on a website. Your $500,000 portfolio isn't just for spending. It's a tool to buy you the time you need to max out your guaranteed government check. If you're trying to retire on $500,000 in San Francisco or New York City, I have bad news. You're not retiring. You're just becoming a professional budgeter. This is where Geo-Arbitrage comes in. It's the single fastest way to give yourself a massive raise without saving another penny. Think of it as purchasing power. $1 in Manhattan is worth about 40 cents in Knoxville, Tennessee. Let's look at the lifestyle shift side by side. If you stay in a high-cost area, your $1,667 portfolio withdrawal doesn't even cover your rent. You're underwater before you even wake up. But move that same $500,000 to a state with no income tax or a country where the dollar is king, and suddenly that $1,667 covers all your basic needs, leaving your entire Social Security check for travel, hobbies, and spoiling your grandkids. You aren't changing your net worth. You're just changing the math of the world around you. If there's one thing that will absolutely nuke a $500,000 retirement plan, it's healthcare. Not because people don't expect it, but because they drastically underestimate the gap between early retirement and Medicare. If you retire at 60, you have a 5-year danger zone where you are essentially on your own. In 2026, the average monthly premium for a 60-year-old on a Marketplace Silver plan has climbed to roughly $1,600 per month. That's $19,200 a year just to have insurance, which, if you remember our math, is almost your entire $20,000 portfolio withdrawal. For 5 years, you aren't living on your savings, you're just handing them over to an insurance company. Once you hit 65, Medicare kicks in to save you, but it's not free. Between Part B, doctor visits at about $203 a month, Part D, drugs at $35 a month, and a Medigap supplement, you're still looking at a baseline of $500 to $600 every month. Fidelity's latest 2025-2026 data show the average 65-year-old will need roughly $172,500 just for medical expenses throughout retirement. The strategy? Don't retire at 60 without a plan. Those 5 years can cost you over $100,000 in premiums and out-of-pocket costs. The HSA secret: if you're still working, max out a health savings account. It's the only account that is tax-free going in, tax-free growing, and tax-free coming out for medical bills. It's the get-out-of-jail-free card for your healthcare bridge. Here's something that keeps me up at night. Your expenses go up every year, but your savings don't automatically follow. This is inflation, the silent thief of retirement. In 2026, we've seen inflation settle back to around 2.4 to 2.6%, but even at those normal rates, the math is brutal. That $3,667 monthly budget you need today, in 10 years, you'll need $4,600 just to buy the exact same groceries and gas. In 20 years, you'll need $5,800. If you keep your $500,000 in a safe savings account earning 1%, you aren't being safe, you're committing financial suicide. You're slowly going broke while thinking you're being responsible. To survive 30 years, you need growth. Historically, the stock market, S&P 500, has returned about 10% annually since 1926, while bonds have averaged around 5%. If you're in a balanced mix, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and inflation is 3%, you're gaining about 4% in real purchasing power. That is the engine that keeps your $500K from evaporating. The bucket strategy for peace of mind. The biggest fear is a market crash right when you retire. To fix this, we use 3 buckets. The cash bucket, years 1 through 3, keep about $60,000 in high-yield savings or CDs. This is your sleep well at night fund. If the market crashes tomorrow, you don't care. You have 3 years of cash ready to go. The stability bucket, years 4 through 10, keep this in bonds and dividend stocks. It grows slowly and refills the cash bucket. The growth bucket, years 11 plus, this is where the rest of your $500K stays in the S&P 500. It has a decade to recover from any dip. By segmenting your money this way, you're not just an investor, you're a manager. You stop panic selling when the news is bad because you know your year 1 money is already sitting safely in the bank.
This is the factor that separates the retirees who were thriving from the ones who were just surviving. Your net worth is a vanity metric. Your disposable income is your reality. 2 people can walk into retirement with the exact same $500,000, but if one has a mortgage and the other doesn't, they are living in 2 different economic universes. Let's look at the math for debt-free Diana versus debt-burdened Dan. Diana owns her home. Her baseline expenses, taxes, insurance, utilities, food, are $2,800. Her income, Social Security plus portfolio, is $3,600. She has an $800 surplus every month. She's booking cruises. Dan still owes $180,000 on his home. His mortgage is $1,500. He also has a $400 car payment. His total expenses are $4,700, but his income is only $3,600. He has an $1,100 deficit every month. To cover that hole, Dan has to dip into his $500,000 principal every single month. At this rate, Dan's nest egg will be completely empty in less than 15 years. He'll be 80 years old with zero savings and only a Social Security check to live on. The biggest debate in finance is whether to pay off a 3% or 4% mortgage with money that could earn 7% in the market. Mathematically, keeping the mortgage might win on a spreadsheet, but in the real world, a paid-off house is a massive insurance policy. It lowers your burn rate, which means you take less out of your portfolio when the market is down, which means your $500,000 lasts significantly longer. In retirement, cash flow is king, and debt is the king's slayer. So, can you actually retire on $500,000? If you're carrying a heavy mortgage, living in an expensive coastal city, and retiring at 60 with a small Social Security benefit, the answer is a blunt no. You'll be out of money before your first decade is up. But if you're debt-free, strategic about your zip code, and smart enough to let your Social Security benefit grow, the answer is a resounding yes. Here's the truth most financial gurus won't tell you. You are already ahead. As of 2022, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 was only about $200,000. By having $500,000, you have more dry powder than 60% of the country. The number in your bank account doesn't determine your happiness, your planning does. $500,000 is just a tool. If you use it to pay off your debts and buy into a lower cost of living, it's a fortune. If you use it to try and maintain a lifestyle you can't afford, it's a ticking bomb. Retirement isn't about having the most money, it's about having enough money to live the life you actually want.